I mean, I look at Omar, I don't know, I never met her. I hear the way she talks about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has killed many Americans. She said you can hold your chest out. You can, when I think of America, when I think of Al-Qaeda, I can hold my chest out. When she talked about the World Trade Center being knocked down, some people, you remember the famous some people? These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country.
I remember when I was in college, I took a terrorism class. And
is that a such thing?
Yeah, there was.
So you go out, there is a lab for that?
There was a class that you.
Do you go to a lab?
No,
you go out a field trip.
We learned the ideology of.
I'm glad you do that.
And so it was the thing that was interesting in the class was every time the professor said Al-Qaeda, he sort of like his shoulders went up and
he's in command here.
Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah.
He's an expert.
All right, well, the resolution likening the boycott of the Jewish state to boycotts of, get this, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. So when you see Ilhan Omar proposing what's called a BDS, which is Boycott, Divest, and Sanction of Israel, and liken it to boycotting Nazi Germany, you say what?
It's amazing. She's not only comparing Israel to Nazi Germany, which is absurd, she's using it to promote policy to actually discriminate against Jews. And that's what a boycott of Israel is. It's not just a boycott of the Israeli government. She's talking about justifying and legitimizing the right to discriminate against Jews because of their relationship to Israel.
Absolutely.
Well, it depends on President Abbas, the Palestinian leader. He made a decision. He made a decision, instead of choosing to embrace peace with Israel, he made a pact with Hamas, a terror organization committed to Israel's destruction.
I stand before you, the daughter of Palestinian immigrants. So I can't stand by and watch this attack on our freedom of speech and the right to boycott the racist policies of the government and the state of Israel.
When the world treats everybody one way and the Jew or the Jewish state another way, there's only one word for it: anti-Semitism. Let us call out the BDS movement for what it is.
We must also be vigilant against bigoted or dangerous ideologies masquerading as policy, and that includes BDS.
So the BDS movement has not distanced itself from Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization. BDS supporters individually are not distancing themselves from Hamas either. It is wrong to be blaming all Israeli and Palestinian violence, quote, as being due to an occupation. Last Friday, Fatih Hamad, a senior Hamas official, called upon Palestinians worldwide to kill all Jews. This is a senior Hamas official just before the weekend. During a closed meeting in October 2017 between Hamas chief Sinwar and Gazan youth about reconciling with the Fatah movement, Sinwar stated that the time spent discussing recognition of Israel is over, and now Hamas will instead discuss when they will wipe Israel out.
Yes. I was reading your literature. I found that much more interesting than the talk. And I found some interesting things about the MSA, which is an organization that's very active on campus, and it is hosting our annual Hitler Youth Week. You should come out to those events. If you could clarify the connection between the MSA and jihad, because last I checked, we had to do our own fundraising, and we never get help from anyone. So if you could clarify the connection between UCSD's MSA.
I remember when I was in college, I took a terrorism class.
Because the connection wasn't too clear in the pamphlet. Just if you could clarify.
Will you condemn Hamas here and now?
So the BDS movement has not distanced itself from Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization. BDS supporters individually are not distancing themselves from Hamas either.
Will you condemn Hamas here and now?
I'm sorry, what?
Will you condemn Hamas?
Would I condemn Hamas?
As a terrorist genocidal organization.
Are you asking me to put myself on a cross?
So you won't. I actually have had this experience many times. You didn't read the pamphlet because the pamphlet is chapter and verse. The main connection is that the MSA is part of the Muslim Brotherhood Network as revealed in the documents.
I don't think you understood what I meant by that. I meant if I say something, I'm sure that I will be arrested for reasons of Homeland Security. So if you could please just answer my question.
If you condemn Hamas, Homeland Security will
If I
arrest you.
support Hamas, because your question forces me to condemn Hamas. If I support Hamas, I look really
If you
bad.
don't condemn Hamas, obviously you support it. Case closed. I have had this experience, I had this experience at UC Santa Barbara where there were 50 members of the Muslim Students Association sitting right in the rows there. And then when the question period came, the president of the Muslim Students Association was the first person to ask questions. And I said, before you start, will you condemn Hezbollah? And he said, well, that question is too complicated for a yes-no answer. So I said, okay, I'll put it to you this way. I'm a Jew. The head of Hezbollah has said that he hopes that we will gather in Israel so he doesn't have to hunt us down globally. For it or against it?
For it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and showing everybody what's here. And you're wearing a terrorist neckerchief.
Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time. He wanted to expel the Jews. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here. So what should I do with them? He asked. He said, burn them.
I'd better give you the straight answer. I think Zionism, the idea of building a state of Jewish farmers on Arab land in the Middle East, is a stupid idea to begin with. I've always thought so. And I think
so the idea of Israel's right to exist is
now that it's there,
has no play with you.
Many states are founded on injustices or foolishness and bad ideas.
And boundaries are drawn by all kinds of political.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that anyone can just come and evict or destroy them. And I'm not saying that, but I think I'd have to say so as not to seem shady.
Yeah.
I've always thought it's a silly, messianic, superstitious nationalist idea, and it's a waste of Judaism. And it guaranteed a quarrel with the Arabs because it meant we're going to take away from you what's most precious, your land.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I read it accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3,000 years to get to this.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. It's practiced freely by many millions of Americans, and by millions more in countries that America counts as friends. Its teachings are good and peaceful, and those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
You have declared a jihad against the United States. Can you tell us why?
The U.S. government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the U.S. is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq. Due to its subordination to the Jews, the arrogance of the United States regime has reached the point that they occupied Arabia, the holiest place of the Muslims, who are more than 1 billion people in the world today. For this and other acts of aggression and injustice, we have declared jihad against the U.S.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
It's not some people who did something. It's terrorists who killed almost 3,000 Americans. And we should talk about it that way. We should talk about it with deference. And it was not taken out of context, by the way. There's a lot of claims that it was. Of course it wasn't. And I think everyone should just look at the clip and decide for themselves
For this and other acts of aggression and injustice, we have declared jihad against the U.S.
Boycott, divest, and sanction of Israel, and liken it to boycotting Nazi Germany.
On campus, and it is hosting our annual Hitler Youth Week. You should come out to those events.
Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time. He wanted to expel the Jews.
He's in command here.
Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah.
He's an expert.
The head of Hezbollah has said that he hopes that we will gather in Israel so he doesn't have to hunt us down globally. For it or against it?
For it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is that they would prefer the Israelis stop existing, because these are the two choices. It's not that Hamas is not in control of the Gaza Strip. You heard one of the people in that montage say that these are people without a state. Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip in 2005. Okay, the Gaza Strip has been entirely under the control of Hamas since 2006, when the Palestinians elected Hamas in an overwhelming majority. Hamas is a State Department designated terrorist group and one of the worst terrorist groups on the planet, and yet we're supposed to believe that this is Israel's fault, that Hamas is trying to storm the border, and they would prefer to blame President Trump for Hamas trumped-up violence than to actually lay the blame at the feet of the people who are creating it.
So I'm looking at two-state and one-state, and I like the one that both parties like. I'm very happy with the one that both parties like. I can live with either one. I thought for a while the two-state looked like it may be the easier of the two, but honestly, if Bibi and if the Palestinians, if Israel and the Palestinians are happy, I'm happy with the one they like the best. As far as the embassy moving to Jerusalem, I'd love to see that happen. We're looking at it very, very strongly. We're looking at it with great care, believe me, and we'll see what happens.
He's in command here.
Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah.
He's an expert.
We are running against a president who is a pathological liar, a fraud, a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe.
No socialist ever comes to socialism by studying economics deeply. No socialist says, I have studied the history of socialism, I've figured out what the flaws are, and I know it's going to work this time. No.
I would argue that liberals have failed us, and we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets
so hold on, are
racism.
you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something...
Well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about this?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so nuts.
It's like saying those stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening to what we are saying.
I think most socialists who are more articulate, in their heart of hearts, they know that they want power. They say, yeah, it's going to be democratic, but I'm going to be the one who gets elected, or I'm going to be the wiser person who's going to be wielding power on behalf of the community.
And then I hear Representative Omar say, oh, America's a terrible place. I'd love there to be justice, and there's no justice here. It's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get.
But since the day that I'd gotten elected, I'd said to people, it is not if he will be impeached, but when. So it is time for us to stop allowing this president to make a mockery out of our Constitution. It's time for us to impeach this president.
I mean, I look at Omar, I don't know, I never met her. I hear the way she talks about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has killed many Americans. She said you can hold your chest out. You can, when I think of America, when I think of Al-Qaeda, I can hold my chest out. When she talked about the World Trade Center being knocked down, some people, you remember the famous some people. These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country.
He's in command here.
Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah.
He's an expert.